is challenging at this point. The next one is under subdivision 4A. And this is just a practical matter with respect to the standard. And bridging off of the commentary from our colleague Regent Mayron and others on the previous proposal, I would point out that our job as a board is to ensure that the committee that we are charging to consider these things understands these standards, and saying that these are things that we can fix at the board because the board ultimately decides, I feel is disrespectful, because by the time the work has been done on that individual review, we should at least have given them the strongest guidance we can on ensuring that they're focusing on the concepts that we think are important. For instance, subdivisions 2 and 4 are precisely why I was proposing the previous language, because it talks about whether the naming exemplifies the highest aspirations, which can be affected by the investigation. And letter C says, to the extent that retaining a name creates an environment that has an effect. That's what it gets at. It's providing clarity, and having been part of a number of committees that have gone through and created standards, we've never been part of one where we punt on the basis that we can just fix it in the final determination. In this case, the proposal is to remove the word highest from aspirations of the institution's mission. As the committee is considering whether to retain a name, and this is going to be based against some evidence of some wrongdoing by the namesake of the building, and those are going to have different degrees. You're going to have strength in evidence, you're going to have less strong evidence, you're going to have bad behavior, you're going to have worse behavior. Those are all going to be subjective analyses that are going to have to be conducted. But once you've determined that there should be some concept of naming, of a renaming, whether or not the naming is the highest aspirations of the institution is a standard that is exceptionally difficult to meet. For instance, if there is a modest amount of misconduct, perhaps, or a less severe form of misconduct that has been determined by less strong evidence, would a local architect after whom a building has been named represent the highest aspirations of the University of Minnesota? There's a very broad range of people who have buildings named after them at the university. We have an administrator with whom I worked and had great affection, who was only here for a year and a half and has a building named after him. Does that represent the highest aspiration? I think that being consistent with the aspirations of the institution's mission, or exemplifies our adherence to the university's mission, that is a better description. Because if you get to the point where you have to meet the very highest aspiration for every single naming, I think there are a lot of buildings on campus now that would not necessarily reach that standard and would provide a basis for a renaming, even though the other components of this analysis are not met. So that's what I would move, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Regent Rocha. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there discussion on this? And President Gable, is there anything specific to this? If not, but I do want to let you know at any point in time, if there's background that would be helpful, please let us know. Regent Sviggum.
Well, Madam Chair, I apologize for maybe not have done my homework and read the Rocha amendments beforehand. If we did get them previous to this, we did, and I didn't get a chance to read them. While members was warm to the last amendment, and quite warm to that because of the perception of an inquiry, I have now read the entire Rocha amendments, and it seems to be raising such a high standard that there would be no renaming that would probably ever be done. Taken together, all of them put together. It seems to me to be an extremely, incredibly high bar as you look at subdivision 4, the suggested changes in C and in D, especially. I want the university to be of the most excellence we can be, and that includes naming of buildings. So I would be against this amendment and the totality of the amendments as they come together, and the chilling effect it would have on any renaming effort. The impossibility of it, I would think, is wrong. So I'm going to be opposing the amendment.